to another episode of a podcast. I am your host, DJ Angel Fire, with my co-host Kwaku Amp. And today we have our guest on. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Dr. Drexx, mixed mastering engineer, based in Africa, precisely in Nigeria. Yeah.
Now, it's been a while since I looked at your Instagram page, but you produce for like a lot of big names. Is that correct?
Yeah, I did some couples of mixes with some A-list artists. A lot of them, which I actually don't know their name, but I could get the files from their managers, and you just want me to do their mix and mastering, and that's how I come about it. The times you don't get the art to see the artist, you just work with the management, and they bring files for you to get it done, mix, mastering, and that's it.
Okay, so yeah, you're like a ghost producer, but in the sense of being a audio engineer, the kind of the engineering work.
Yeah, exactly. I work with different producers, just want to get their song get mixed and mastered.
Okay.
Now, I've been looking at your Instagram story. It looks like, I guess you worked with Kanye on something. You don't have to go into any of the specifics, but can you describe the experience of working with him or his team?
Yeah, working with let me just say, with a boss of mine, Bankuli. That was the guy that actually introduced me, that said we should come. And precisely it's because of I work with the Pro Tools, and I'm sure that's exactly what they actually needed, because that's majorly the DAWs we were using there. And I work more on the SSL boss board, because I use the SSL AWS 900 series. And I had to meet Kai's engineer too, Jesse Riggs. So I met some couples of engineers, but we just two, Mark, JC, myself, and my other colleague. We left Africa together. Then Bankuli, there was three of us. And my experience there was very fantastic, because I gained a lot. Apart from the sound and the recording that happened, I really gained a lot, meeting a lot of people, you meet people and they share their life's experience, and, get the beyond music life, how to make it, get music business, you understand, taking to the next level. So I really gained a lot, I gained a lot.
How many years have you been doing this before you got noticed?
I've been mixing for 10 years now.
It's amazing. You're really into this industry, right? Have you traveled to any other countries? Like, I know you're in Nigeria right now, but have you been to?
I've not been to the States. I only just get files from the States from some artists that they send over for me to get their song mixed and mastered. Then some others calls me for some insights of they want how to mix vocals, and I just give them a little advice and a piece or mix facts and how they can go about getting new techniques of mix. You understand? So that's basically. I've never been in the States before, but I just hopefully I'll be there someday. But I just get files from artists there and get their song mixed and send them through emails.
So can you describe like the music scene in Nigeria, or just in West Africa in general right now, in respects to hip hop or any genre you see coming out?
So we do a lot of fusion, the Afro hip hop. We do the high life, and some other people can actually fuse that with some Afro-Cuban sound. You understand? And just like, they want to be different from every other artist that does just the same thing, with no varieties. So we have different artists here in Nigeria that are trying to fuse the sound and to get their real sound. Like most of them, you might want to hear a Davido. Davido was someone that does the African more, you understand? And Afro pop. Then other upcoming artists who actually want to mimic what Davido is doing, which might not actually work for them. So they have to really get their own sound, and so to make them what they really are, to make them their person, But generally, in Nigeria, we deal more with African samples, sounds. But now, I think they are really fusing more on the hip hop. If you notice, some sounds that actually come out from likes of YCs and some other couples of artists. They deal more with the hip hop. Some are trying to go into trap. So you can actually just speak like, oh, this is theirs. Because they do a lot, they do all kinds of genre here. Is the Afro.
Very interesting. Also, I remember there's this Nigerian artist. I think his name is Fowles, if I'm pronouncing it correctly. And he, right around the time Childish Gambino came out with "This Is America," he came out with "This Is Nigeria." I'm sure you're aware of this, right?
Oh, Fowles,
Yeah.
Fowles, the bad guy.
Yeah. The response from the
Is that
government,
Fowles?
from what I've seen, they've been trying to, suppress the music video's reach. Right around that time when "This Is America" or "This Is Nigeria" came out, can you describe the public's reception of the music video or the song "This Is Nigeria"?
Basically, for "This Is Nigeria," I've really not really sat down and understood the inside of that pattern of sound like that. But I just believe because he's a comedian, you understand? So he infused it into his music, his sounds.
Oh, so it's
his
like
sounds,
satire? Like he's using like comedy in his
Yeah,
music, right?
yeah, exactly. So you can see the kind of glasses he uses.
Mm-hmm.
Fused with his lyrics.
Mm-hmm.
Then the appearance, the kind of videos. And then sometimes when you get to watch some adverts and you just see the way he talks, he has this kind of particularly, not that that's just the way he talks, but that's what he's known for, his tune of vocals. Do you understand?
Yes.
But just had that kind of comedy things and just fuse it to his music. And he's doing great, man.
That's very genres in America we have soul, like R&B, soul, hip hop, and stuff like that. I know you were just talking about hip hop a couple moments ago.
Yeah, there's some artists that do soul here, like a soulful artist we have here. We have I don't know, maybe you heard of Banky W.
I think I have before.
Yeah, Banky W. We have Nini Ola. We have there's this other dude guy. It's called Capital Femi. Yeah, these are guys that actually do soul. They do the kind of like soul feels music. They do this general sound. And there are some artists. There's a lady artist I respect a lot that does that too. Tiwa Savage.
Mm-hmm.
And Tiwa has a beat soul. Then Victoria came out. These are people that I've really worked with, a lot of them. So they have this soul stuff, but they can just fuse it to this African kind of sound. But if they want to do their stuff, like they want to do this stuff, they have this soul touch and soul feel in this. Artists like that, praise. So also, it deals more. I think that's more a soul artist, a soulful artist. Praise. His name is Praise.
Do you hear other international influences outside of, say, the typical hip-hop sound?
Yeah, I do. There's a track on which was not a hip-hop genre that Tiwa featured Omarion. I don't know, maybe you've seen the video?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she featured Omarion. It was this African touch, and it sounds great.
Oh, so the track you're talking about, it's not necessarily, or rather, it's some sort of hybridization between like two different, musical sounds from different parts of the world.
Yeah, exactly. Because Omarion is more like an R&B.
Oh.
Yeah. So and Tiwa Savage she has aside that she does the African sound, she does the Afro, and she also has a soul. Also has a soul sound in her, though she fused it with the African sound. And that was it.
Just make music on your own, or are you just like a producer? I mean, like you just mix and master other people's music,
Yeah, that's what I do. I can only just direct an upcoming producer, or I can just direct tell the producer what to do. If he get the file across to me for me to get mixed, you understand? I can just help out to bring out the best sound and things like that for him, because most of them you don't tell them. Okay, this is how it is now. We have beats makers and we have producers.
Okay.
You understand? So yeah. So producers are the musicians. You understand? Beat makers are just, they want to fuse different samples because it sound nice. It sound nice to their ears and everything. They actually want to fuse a lot of samples, which is not meant to be. You understand? And they get, when you tell them to make an hip hop for them, you start, because of all the samples they're clicking on to make use of. They are not now concentrating on the hip hop sound. They're now making it sound an Afro hip hop, which wherever it's you actually want an hip hop sound. You see, that's two different things. Beat maker actually want to listen. A producer wants to listen to an artist and plays. Those are major people that actually knows more about the notes, the chord changes, the plays, the keys. Beat makers are just, you just actually want to fuse in different samples because they sound right. Have a lot of samples, no breathing space for the artist to hear yourselves into the sound. What I do basically is when they get those files across to me, I try and understand. There are three things that I reason. First, I reason what the producer is thinking. I come about with the artist, what were they doing? They sat down together and start making the sequence. So I kind of reason all that. That's why it takes me time for me to start mixing songs. I spend a lot of time mixing tracks because I actually want to understand where the artist is coming from, the direction the artist is coming from, and the producer. So I make both of them happy.
All right. So it's not like merely, you're just sitting there or putting beats together. It's, it's a refined process where you have to actually get into the mind of, I guess the first person that put the composition together, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Now, do you feel like the market for audio engineers has changed now that there's so many bedroom producers, like myself, interview we had with Krylo, where they just want to master it and do it from start to finish them. So I think those people have impacted your job, or have they?
Okay, first I'll say that's wrong. That's really not a cool one. Except if the producer want to get the files to the artist to go and listen, then he can do a little edit or balancing of the sequence, samples, and vocals. But for the mix, that's not right, because you need a different ears to be able to understand what you actually produce.
Oh, okay. So you're saying that there's a difference between, the
Of
producing culture and the mixing, like the people who are just like mixing it in.
Yeah. Yes. It has to be two different people. You have the producers. Normally, this is the chain. The chain should be the producers, the recording engineers, the mix engineers, and the mastering engineers. But sometimes you don't get artists to pay those set of people because it might cost them a lot. So what you do is you take your file and go to a producer. The producer could record you. Some studios actually have producers that have their own recording engineers, and they take the files to the mix mastering engineer in another studio.
Right.
Because trust me, the room for the mix studio is so different from the room for the production studio. So basically in Nigeria, they do that a lot. So that's why it's something I need to make sure that but they don't know it's really not good. It's really not good. It's really not good. It's really a bad process of getting final work done out of the studio. Yeah, a producer should produce with the artist. I believe the producer's work, or the nature of the music producer, is to bring out the best from the artist. Now you bring out the best from the artist, you do the sequence, and give the stems files to the mix and the mastering engineer. because it comes with another kind of brand new ears. I want to think for the artists and the producers. That was why we had it's just like what happens here in Nigeria. A lot of producers do that shit, but it's actually wrong. Now they don't actually want to bring it to okay, like me, I do strictly mix and mastering, I don't produce. You understand? So it gives me a lot of time to work on my ears. I can hear faults. I can know the frequencies, what to cut, what to add up. You understand? And I know what and what to do because I've not stressed the ears to start producing and picking up samples and still want to make use of the ears again to do a mix and a mastering. I don't know. You're not going to get it the right frequencies.
Okay, that's very interesting. Yeah. Because I know, like, I mean, I know some people, and I myself, like, because I don't necessarily have access to to go to a studio over here. So I have my own little bootleg set up here in my house. But you have services online like I guess Lander, who if you put your tracks through it, apparently it mixes and masters it for you. So I've used it. I haven't necessarily, I guess it's my ears. I don't necessarily hear the quality change all that much, but there is some type of change. What are your opinions on softwares like that mix and master stuff for you? As a mixer yourself.
Okay. Basically, I would say I don't call that stuff a mixed DAWs.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you call it a software. Yeah, I don't call it the mixed DAWs because what you just did was you took a song and just play it through a DAWs that just tweak. What it does is it just tweak a little frequencies on like the dehancer. It's just like that's exactly what it does. So it doesn't. I don't call that. And for me, my kind of person is going to make me lazy, mix mastering engineer. That's for me. I like it being raw. I like tweaking my stuff myself. I like creating my process of separations of frequencies. I like it to be me, so it sounds different from every other person. That's one. So I will not advise you do that, except you just want to give out and you want people to listen to it. Okay, for now that it's not really properly mixed and mastered, then it's allowed to go through those parts. But trust me, it's gonna make you lazy, and it's make you not really want to go in search and know more about your craft. That's
you're saying that from a person who's aspiring, to be a mixer, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, interesting.
Because ultimately it lacks that human touch.
Mm-hmm.
At what point in your life did you decide that this was kind of your profession?
Basically, I started with a dude. It's like a close friend of mine. It's like a brother. His name is Mastercraft. He's one of the toughest producers we have in Nigeria. So I learned under him. We were together. So he started production. So I was learning. Then all of a sudden, I just discovered that since I have a good ears, I might just actually just use my ears to work on the frequencies and just become a mix engineer, an audio engineer. So that was started. I didn't just go into mixing. I just started recording. I understood what the word recording engineers, when I got books for recording techniques, I had to understand the kind of recording techniques then before I start moving into mix and mastering. So I really studied more about the recording techniques before moving to the mix. So it takes a lot of wise, but a lot of people might not be patient to go through that process.
Oh, so you're like self-taught, right?
Yeah, I did self-taught. Then I had people online that was watching. I have A1 that works with Chris Brown. That's the person I was really working and watching how it works. It works more with Chris Brown. Then I had Manny Queen.
Mm-hmm.
That was my favorite mixing engineer that did the mix for Stronger, Kanye West.
Mm-hmm.
So that was basically my mentor, Manny Queen. I know you use most of his plugins though because he has his Waves plugin also. Okay.
Yeah.
So Manny Queen, that's my really mentor, my role model. That's top notch.
If you don't mind again, because in the beginning of this podcast, with all the connection issues, I have it written down here. I asked a question. I said, could you describe your experience with working with Kanye's team?
First, I call this Bankole. He's a boss to me. He's a big bro to me. And all of a sudden, I didn't know I didn't know we're going for Kanye's stuff. I was in church because I also do the live live rig, I do live sounds also. And he just called me and like, yo, Dr. Drexx, would you want to travel the next day? And I'm like, why not? Then because he knows I make use of the Pro Tools and the SSL board. So he called me and that was, at first, after when we landed at Ethiopia, that's when I knew that I was going to work with, we're going for Kanye's stuff over there, and I was like, wow, okay, and that was how it took me there, flew together with, not just me, I went with another great sound engineer, lighter, so the three that were left, and getting there, saw faces like a Big Sean, Tony Williams. So if you had checked my IG, you see me and Tony Williams.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Tony Williams, then Kanye's uncle, and dad. Everybody was there, Kanye's wife, and it was a great team, fantastic, the best team I've ever seen. That's why I say, aside the music business, the talk, you gain more. It's something that impacts in you when he speaks. He sounds like a brother. He sounds like a father. It sounds like everything that you want. He's accommodating. He's a fantastic man, Kanye. Trust me.
Wow.
And I will never forget that experience. And also to his wife, they're just the best. The best I've met. I've really met others with Big Sean and every other person that was there. Then Ronald J, crazy producers. The guy is weird. A lot of them I met. And it was great. It was really great. We were like family. And the only thing I love him for, him and his wife, the humility. They're very humble.
Wow. I can see that because also looking at your Instagram now, I'm sure you're aware of his Sunday service that he does. Yeah, I can see like he's really promoting this, this notion of getting people together and trying to, I guess, push that. I don't want to say just exclusively religious narrative, but with the church and everything, but trying to push this, togetherness, like trying to get people together and trying to uplift everybody. It's just a very interesting thing to watch.
It is like what I said earlier. He's someone you can predict. He has so many things upstairs. You don't even know the direction, and that's the reason why I love him.
I see. Yeah, I get. We can all kind of tell he's been very unpredictable.
Yeah.
And he works. His creativity is crazy. It's dope. You don't even know where it's going to. You just think you're counting your numbers from 1, 2, 3, 4. From 1, Kanye's might be on 10, might be on 100. Trust me, man. He's dope, and he has a wonderful family.
Yeah,
wife, kid. Yeah.
I tried doing research on his discography on certain albums, and when you really dig into it, it's like there's a lot of, it's really well thought out, all the concepts, the story that he tries to show. It's not like he just sits there and he puts it together like, I'm going to make an album where I throw tracks on it. It's a meticulous effort where each and every single track tells a story. How I view it, right? It's like you have an album, right? It's a book, and each track.
About what he's gone through, about what he does,
Yes.
about activities of the days, activities of every second. He put them down, and exactly.
There's this videographer named Nico who
Yeah.
follows him
Yeah,
around, and he's
Nico.
recording him and everything. So, do you know what that's for anyway?
Not really. For now, it's
Interesting.
private.
Oh yeah, okay, sorry. Okay, all right. Yeah, all right. So, interesting. So I guess this is another question about the musical culture in Nigeria.
Okay.
Have you performed at any concerts, and if so, can you like describe? I guess every single concert, it has like the same vibe. Everyone's cheering, everyone's dancing. But is there anything that really sticks out to you when you go to a concert in Nigeria? If you do go to a concert in Nigeria,
I do. Okay, basically, what really takes me to concert, like I said, aside the audio engineering, I also do the live engineering. So I do live rigs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I mix live. You understand? So most of the times, and when I'm on the decks, on the console, I just, there's always a wow. And the only people that wow me from my side, everybody is good though, but I think I feel more on the David and Whiskey because they are the one that have really done a concert that really good. Then Burna Boy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Burna Boy. We have a series of people like that have the concerts are really wow. Burna Boy, Malik Berry when he came down, had a concert in Hard Rock Cafe at the island, and I did the sound, and it was great. Whiskey did this at UK, the O2. David also did that, and this is a great concert. You understand? And we have, pretty most of them like that. But Dave and Wiz and Burna Boy as concert that really wowed me. In face with it.
Very interesting. So I was checking out your Instagram like a while ago, and I saw that there was, I guess, a Chinese lady singing in some type of I don't want to say concert.
Spanish.
What, excuse me.
Okay, yeah, in a concert, right?
Yeah. Would you? So we were talking about before, like global influences. Are there any like Asian influences in Nigeria when it comes to music? Do you like see the the two sides really coming together and making music, or the two cultures coming together and making a new, I guess, hybridized genre?
I'm just trying to build up myself to work with different artists in the world. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
Understand their sounds, to understand their mix, and do live rigs for them. You understand that? I think that's what's going to make me different from maybe other engineers here, which I know already.
Mm-hmm.
Do you understand? So, but the Asian and Nigeria coming together, hey, I'm not seeing that happen now, except for Victoria Kimani that did the China Love. She shot the video in China. She featured forgotten this artist's name. He featured in Maroon 5.
Mm-hmm.
Maroon 5. So I did the mix. I mixed the song. So it was titled China Love. So the video was shot in China.
Wow.
It was great.
Seems like African, or I guess I can make the generalization, like Afro beats have really influenced um like other genres in other countries. When you look at pop music here in the United States, or people like Ariana Grande, you can hear some Afrobeat influences. So it's very interesting. It seems everything is really built up, or I guess pop music is really built up off of that. So I guess it
Yeah,
really comes
exactly.
back to the Afro beats, or African genres in general.
Exactly. Yeah, it's all that just happened over in the states. You listen to people that does the hip hop, and they do so. Most of the things that happen basically now are just fusions. So you can pick like, okay, this is an Afrobeat, this is a dance song. So a lot of fusions has been happening lately in the sound.
Hmm. What advice can you give people who are trying to get into the whole mix and mastering scene? What advice?
Advice to give upcoming mix engineers. First, the basic thing for mixing engineers is you have to work on the ears. You start off with your ears first. If you have a good sound ears, then I'm sure you can fit into the to that field. But if you don't have a sound ears, because you need a good ears to understand your frequency when you tweak. If you're working on your 2K down to your 10K, you know what to tweak, you know what the shelf, you know what to do the broad of shelves. So if you don't have that ears to actually understand this, you can just see them and tweak and be tweaking, and it might not sound right to you, and it might sound right to other person, because definitely the ears has not really been worked on. So they need to listen to different kind of genres of music, work on their ears, and the other ones that have good ears that already have mixing techniques and are good already on the board mixing. Whenever they are given a track to mix, what I do is when you give me a track to mix, I mix as if I'm not going to mix the next day anymore, or that's my last mix on earth. So I do it with all I have. I don't want to know how much is paying. A person paying him, if someone is paying me $10,000 and another person is paying me $1,000, I'll give the same name, because it's all about my tag, my name.
Mm-hmm.
Then I advise them to do the online courses, or if they have opportunity to go to any school of the choice, they can. Like me, I'm planning on going to Full Sail to do some advanced course. You know, that should be my next target now, and also to sound for films. You know, exactly. But it's way beyond the audio.
While we're talking about ears, I get, or just like
I have good ears that I'm.
or having the ability to hear things properly. How do you take care of your ears? It seems like a pretty weird question, but when you're actually listening to the sound and stuff, um,
Okay.
how do you make sure you don't completely lose your hearing, right? Because in my
Okay.
experience, I kind of messed up in the past with like listening to my own music, trying to work on it.
Okay.
And for a while, I noticed I can't hear the same as I used to. So I took a step back from using headphones for quite a while. So the question is, how do you avoid a problem like that?
Okay. Let me go back from the ears. Now, do you go to club? I'm sure you go to club to listen to music and heavy sound, loud sound.
Hmm.
You go to club, right?
I mean, no,
Now,
I haven't visited any club, but I get the idea of what you're trying to say.
okay, now, basically for a good mixing engineer, when you find yourself two things, even boarding a plane or going to a club, you need to put an earbud, because of you don't get your ears disturbed. Or you
Hmm.
don't want to get them worked out. You understand? You
Hmm.
still earbud them so you can hear some mild frequencies, because um, you opening your ears or just go with your naked ears like that into club, or where, yeah, you know, the club, the sound is pushy and things like that. If you get your ear, you know, then some people actually want to get back like that after the experience of the club to want to work on a mix, which is wrong. You already damaged your ears. So what I was doing was when I listen to music, if I find myself in such a place like that, the reason I go to club was to listen to the new genre of sound, maybe different genre of sound that's happening in the club. But I stay far from the PA system and I wear my earbuds. You get then you give me a music to listen to, I listen to it like 4 times. The first time I listened to the genre of music, the artists, the producers, the engineers, the recorded, I just listened to it. The second time I listened to what the artists and the producers have in common that produce such music. The third time I'm going to listen to the frequencies, separations of frequencies. And the fourth time I'll try to pick up each frequencies from the samples. So I could hear the tiniest sound that if you're with me, you might not hear. Even if you wear the headphone, you might not hear. I can hear them on the studio monitor. All I just need to do is I know how to shut down with my ears to certain low-end frequencies, and I want to listen to the high ends. So there's a way I place my ears.
Interesting.
To get those frequencies. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, not that I have the same experience as you do, but I've come to find that if I listen to like the same song over and over again, I'll notice minor instruments playing in the background that I haven't heard before. So I can only imagine, how much you get to hear when you're messing with frequencies. Must be pretty cool.
Yeah, and it can also drive you crazy because if you're listening to your own mix, then it's like, oh, what happened to the kick drum? And it's like, well, the kick drum, but you're hearing things differently.
This is some other kind of mixing engineers which I noticed. You want to loop a particular segment of the kick so that you're able to work on the frequencies and tune the kick. Is that? So when you listen to it much, you get your ears distuned. So you might not get the right frequencies. Mm-hmm. And this is what I do. I spend more of my time on, like I said, individual instruments. Like my kick. If I find out like a producer brings up a kick samples for me, and I lay it on my board, the first thing I do is to know the kind of bass line, kind of bass sample or choice of tones the bass is. You get it can be this woody bass, and the kick can just be this kind of like just a live kick, has nothing to do with the digital. So what I do is I already know my frequencies on my kick. Except I just want to chain. That's when I can spend more time on my kick. You understand? But basically, your kick range to get your knock and your punch runs within 60 to 100. I spend more time on my own kick. I could be on my kick tweaking or mixing my kick for like 2 hours because there's always something new I want to do with the kick.
Yeah, always trying to like refine your craft and stuff.
Yeah.
So, to go back to one of our other questions, something to do with being self-taught versus, going through like I guess formal education of music. What's your view on that?
Like the old is an advice to give an upcoming mix engineer. Like that's what I said. Work on the ears and make sure they master their craft. Mm-hmm. You understand every frequencies. Like most of them, this is the problem most engineers have. They have the wave plugins, so just the EQ, just the equalization might have like 200 kinds of EQ. For frequencies, what I mean frequencies is your equalization. You understand from your 20 hertz down straight to your 20 kilohertz, you understand? Mm-hmm. So you understand what I want to cut. When you have a kick drum, you have a bass drum, you know what to cut, you know what to add, you know what to put up, you know what to cut down. You have your toms, you have your vocals, you have the guitars, you need to understand the range of the guitars for the range of the range of frequencies for guitars. You need to understand you need to know the range for the kick. You need to know the range of the bass and things like that. So that's why I say understanding the frequencies of your instruments. So that means you're working on your ears and building your craft or mastering your craft. Mm-hmm. Immediately you understand this kind of thing, these little things, makes you at least you're getting there to become like the pros. That's what I believe, because equalization is actually the major thing that actually spices the add colors to the music generally. So every other add-ons like the side chain, whatever you want to add, any other effects you want to put are just secondary. The major stuff is equalization. You understand that, and then you're fine. And another thing I need to tell them is once they are there, once they get any mix to be done, or you're given a mix to do, just mix and see. That's the last mix you're gonna do. So mix to the peak and make sure the sounds organic.
So I guess we can get on, story time if you're comfortable with it. Have you had any bad experiences with any artists?
Yeah, a lot.
Could you tell us about it, or?
Yeah, of course. One of the bad experience I had with an artist was recording the artist and giving him the what we just recorded, and I haven't done the mix has not been done yet, and it took the recording like that, dropped it, went to give the radio station and shared a video with that, and it was a conflict. And another scene I had was recording an artist and just walked out from the studio and left me at the studio, went to get a smoke, drink, and things like that, and never come back for the session. Time wasted.
Yeah, that sounds like it really would suck. So any upcoming projects you have? Any things you're working on?
Yeah. There's this dude that usually be in the UK. He's based in the UK. His name is Stix. He's coming out with 4 tracks, and they're all produced, recorded live. All the instruments are recorded live. So that's a new project I'm working on now. He's a dope producer. One of the dopest producers I've met so far. But he just wanted me to do the mix. It's not as if he's not a mix engineer, but he just felt I have the kind of ears that he's actually looking for. Ever my trip back from the Kanye stuff, and that was why I need to mix my stuff. And because I usually have this kind of problem that I don't like doing box mix. Okay, when I mean box mix, my sound card and the laptop. I won't actually. I could give my best, but it won't be like I want to mix on the board.
Did you say that you've seen a boost in terms of people that want to work with you, or would you say that it's been about the same? Because it sounds like you've worked with a lot of maybe a long time, or at least local artists, so you've kind of been at this. But do you think there's been an increase in demand for your service now?
Yeah, exactly. That was actually what happened. Way back I worked with some artists like Wizkid. His first album, I did a recording and the mix was mastered by another engineer. Okay. I never get to see them again. Some of them were like, "Oh, we don't know the whereabouts of Dr. Drexx," and they find other mix engineers and things like that. But when I listen to these sounds, I'm like, these things are not sounding great. But after my experience back home, which I met Jesse Riggs, that's kind of, with his discussion and everything, it's what I learned. And, working together with him, I have a lot of boosts. I had add-ons of followers. I had boosts. I had people that come to the studio and watch me mix. I had people that actually want to learn.
Oh, I'm curious because I thought about this at the beginning. How did that name?
Okay, the name Dr. Drexx was given by my father. Drexx. Then I had to add the doctors because it was a nickname that I just found it like the actual meaning of it means clean sound. So it means clean sound. That's Drexx. Then the doctor, one of my friends actually said, "Man, yo, you can actually be the doctor of sound, So let's give you Doctor Mix." And that was Peter of P Square. You heard of P Square? Okay, it's P Square. P Square, one of the top A-list artists. Feature with a lot of people with Cross, and when you Google their name, you see them. P Square. So the twin brother, twin. So the other one, Peter, actually gave me like, "Oh, yo, you need to be Dr. Mix." So ever since then, I've been adding the Dr. Drexx,
Okay,
infuse it together.
I see.
Yeah.
Oh, P Square, P Square.
P Square.
They're R&B, right? R&B duo.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Let me ask the question again, and I guess differently. What's your music making setup or your music mixing setup right now? Like from laptops to whatever you may have.
Okay. I started with mixing up a desktop. On a laptop. I started with a desktop. Pro Tools 6, 7. Started with the oldies Steinberg, a little room like that, and from there to a laptop.
Okay.
Mixing for laptop a couple of wild box mixers, sound card. Recently, the label I have a contract with that I worked with. Called me because they have an SSL board. Only the one that have such board in Nigeria. I told you earlier on. So they use the SSL 900 series, 900 plus. So I run the SSL in Nigeria, which no engineer run.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
And I have the Augsburgers monitors in wall. I use my NS10. I'm sure in my IG you've seen the setup. I have my tubes, everything. So basically, I'm the only one using. So I'm just trying to become the ambassador of studio. It's not my studio. Every time they want to do stuff, they call me. So I leave the house, my home. I'm married, so I go to the studio and just work on the board.
Anyone you want to shout out, or anything you want to shout out that you're currently doing or you're going to do? Any like social media accounts you want to plug in right now?
Yeah. Because my Instagram name is at Dr. Drexx Mix. At Dr. Drexx and Mix MIX.
Thanks for being patient with us and answering our questions. Maybe we'll have you on some other time.
Okay. Oh, well, have a pleasure.